Hello, class. Mr. Balker here. I'm going to go over our Amplify lesson. It is a grammar one, and I like to do it now using this method instead because it does allow you guys to see the questions a lot more clearly. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to pull up Amplify curriculum. The unit that we're doing here is grammar, subunit 2, lesson 3. Okay. It is called dependent and independent clauses. This is a lot like the stuff that we've done in the past as far as determining a complete sentence. So let's talk about what a clause is. A clause contains a subject and a predicate, okay? It contains everything that we need to have a sentence. Sometimes they will be independent, meaning they stand completely on their own. They are a sentence, okay? And you might have one with another sentence separated by a comma. Or you might have what's known as a dependent clause. And a dependent clause, the difference is, it has a word that ties it to the other stuff and makes it need that information. And they've got a couple of examples here. Even when the cat caught 3 mice. You see, the cat caught 3 mice, that's a sentence all by itself. But because we've put even when in the front of it, now it's depending on something else, and it becomes the secondary point of the sentence. An independent clause is just the thing by itself. The man chased her away. It doesn't need anything. But again, when we add even when or because or with or who, now it leans on something else. And so our first simple sentence there is until Diego stops bothering me. See, if it said Diego stops bothering me, that's fine. But because it says until, we have to have something before it. So this is a dependent clause. B. Second one, I will have to avoid him. I will have to avoid. That's a complete sentence. It doesn't tie it to anything else. It is independent. The third one here, which is an independent clause. You've got 3 choices. Until 5 o'clock, I will read my doll book. That is a full sentence. Even though I don't like reading. I don't like reading is fine, but even though ties it to something so. So now we're asking the question, even though they don't like reading, what? I'm going to do it anyhow? Cool. Until 5 o'clock, I will read my doll book, even though I don't like reading, and as soon as the bell rings. As soon as the bell rings, what? If it just said the bell rings, that would be fine. But as soon as ties it and makes it dependent, independent. That's it. I'll let you do the last 2 on your own. Let's go to number 3 here. Here we have to choose all the dependent clauses. And so when they say choose all, that indicates there's likely more than one option. Even though Manish didn't listen to me. Yeah, what about it? That's tied to something, even though. The rest of the period, the class listened to my ideas. Okay, that's a full sentence. The rest of the period, the class listened to my ideas. Until we had talked about all our ideas. The fact that it says until links it to something else. A and C are dependent. Next one, choose all the dependent clauses again. When we revise, yeah, what about it? When we revise what? For the rest of the period, the class listened to my ideas. Again, that's a complete sentence. Since he uses descriptive words to talk about the man, since he uses them, what? What happens afterwards, right? The word since here makes it a challenge, makes it dependent. If it just said, he uses descriptive words to talk about the man, that would have been fine. That's not what it says. Next one, which is not a dependent clause. If something is stinky, okay, what about it? If it's stinky, yeah, what else? That's dependent. When he is traveling on a ship, okay, what happens? It doesn't say he is traveling on a ship. It says when. We now need to have something else that is attached to. Third one, his initials are UN. His initials are UN. That's a full sentence. That is not dependent. Let's go ahead and go to number 4. Which is a complete sentence. If you work with a partner, you hear it, right? That sounds dependent. We need more information. Yeah, what about it? If I work with a partner, what? I get half credit? Make sure to listen carefully to his or her ideas. That sounds like a complete sentence to me. You make sure to listen carefully. Okay, I'll do that. Since we aren't allowed to pick our partners, yeah, what about it? I need to have more information. It says since. If it just said we weren't allowed, that would have been fine. But because it says since, now I have something that it's depending upon. Second one. If you slurp your soup. What? You're going to slap me? That's a complete sentence if it has something else. If it just says you slurp your soup, that's a complete sentence. But the word if makes us dependent. Before you chomp your bagel, okay, what about it? I'm depending on something else. It doesn't say chomp your bagel. It says before you chomp your bagel. What happens? You can scarf down a pizza. No, that's right. I will scarf down a pizza. I will scarf. Great, that's a complete sentence. Third one. Whenever Tasha forgets to call, now we have to add an independent clause to complete the sentence. Whenever she forgets to call for permission from her dad, nope, what about it? Because she is too busy, nope, not enough information. Because she's too busy, then still what happens? She is grounded for the weekend. When she forgets to call, she is grounded. This is a complete sentence, which is what we need to complete this, because this is a dependent clause. We need an independent clause to finish it off. This is dependent because it says for. This is dependent because it says because. That's all of number 4. I'll let you do the last 2. On number 5, the first question is, which of these 2 is a complete sentence? After we read about the character who worked in the candy store. What about it? After we read about him, then what happens? I don't know. Second one, we were writing about the character who worked in the candy store. We were writing, that's a complete sentence. This one here doesn't have an independent clause after it, okay? It has a dependent clause right here, who worked in the candy store, but it has an independent clause that completes it. We were writing about the character, okay? Next one, same idea. She told us to shut everything as fast as we could. She told us to shut everything. And then we have our dependent clause, as fast as we could, afterwards. But this independent clause makes it work. That's definitely a complete sentence. Before we opened everything we could find, see the word before here makes us a dependent clause. What about it? Third one, because it's winter, our classroom is freezing. That works. Our classroom is freezing is an independent clause. So there is snow. The word so here makes it a dependent clause. The third one, cold outside, doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't have a subject and a predicate. There's no action. So that's just a fragment. This one is an independent clause and it completes our sentence. So that's it. You can do the last 2 of those on your own. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this is an easy one for you. I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to stop the recording.